Welcome to the deep dive. So, the year is 2026, and we are basically staring down the barrel of the biggest, probably the most physically demanding sports spectacle in human history.
Oh, absolutely. Unprecedented scale.
Right. I am talking, of course, about the 2026 World Cup. It's spread across the massive expanses of the USA, Canada, and Mexico. We've got an expanded 48 teams competing, which is just wild.
It is. It's the ultimate supersized, hyper-modernized tournament.
Exactly. But to really get why this matters to you listening at home, we have to look at the logistics.
Yeah, the logistical footprint alone is just staggering. I mean, you are looking at a tournament that spans multiple time zones. It requires hours and hours of air travel between group stage matches. And this is the kicker. It's being played in the absolute scorch of a North American summer.
Right. The heat is going to be brutal.
Exactly. The environmental and physical demands on the human body have quite literally never been higher in the history of international football.
Which, brings us to the absolute core paradox of our deep dive today.
Yeah, the really weird part.
Right, because as we dug through our stack of sources today, we've got match reports, we've got squad breakdowns from the Olympic Channel, and this massive goal.com feature on the veterans taking their quote-unquote last dance. We found something truly bizarre. In this hyper-modern, incredibly grueling tournament, the defining storyline isn't the cutting-edge youth.
Not at all.
It's a total reliance on an aging old guard. The fate of the biggest footballing nations on Earth rests on players who are, frankly, pushing 40.
It's a profound contradiction, really, because the modern game has evolved to prioritize high-intensity pressing, relentless pace, and just immense stamina.
Yeah.
Yet the managers of these powerhouse nations, they're putting the keys to the Ferrari in the hands of players whose physical peaks are, well, in some cases, a full decade behind them.
So our mission today is to equip you with everything you need to know to be the smartest person in the room when you sit down to watch these matches. We are going to unpack the mechanics of how these aging icons are even surviving, why their managers are risking everything to put them on the pitch, and what actually happens to the psychology of a team when an entire nation's hopes rest on a player whose body is held together by, athletic tape and sheer willpower.
To really grasp the magnitude of what we're seeing, I think we have to look at the emergence of the six-timers club.
Oh, yeah. The six-timers.
Yeah, we are witnessing a historic anomaly here. Players competing in a record-breaking 6 World Cup.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. It's like a massive season finale of a TV show where they bring back every single beloved character for one last cameo.
Right.
But the script requires them to run a marathon in a sauna. I mean, I look at Lionel Messi, right? He's turning 39 this summer.
Yep.
He won the missing piece of his trophy cabinet back in 2022. He could have walked off into the sunset, but instead, he's back.
He is. And he's not the only one.
Right. Guillermo Ochoa, the Mexican goalkeeper, is 40. So I just have to ask the obvious question here. Is it actually physically sustainable for a 39-year-old or a 40-year-old to play in a tournament this expansive and this punishing?
From a purely physiological standpoint, no. I mean, the explosive pace and the recovery capacity you need to play multiple 90-minute matches in a condensed window, it declines sharply after a player turns 30.
Obvious.
But elite international football isn't played purely in the muscles. The World Cup is fundamentally a psychological gauntlet.
Okay, walk me through that. How does the psychology offset a 39-year-old's physical deficit against, like, a 22-year-old who can run twice as fast?
Well, think about the unique pressure cooker of the World Cup stage. For a 22-year-old debutant, the weight of a billion people watching can be genuinely paralyzing.
Oh, for sure.
Their heart rate spikes before the whistle even blows. They make rash adrenaline-fueled decisions. They physically exhaust themselves just managing their own nervous system.
Right, the anxiety just drains them.
Exactly. But the players in this six-timers club have what we can call tournament muscle memory. Their brains process that extreme pressure as familiar data.
Wow.
They don't waste an ounce of energy on the occasion. They only expend energy on the execution.
So they are mentally hacking the tournament, basically? They know when to walk, when to breathe, and when to actually sprint?
Yeah, and they have engineered their club careers specifically for this summer to make that possible.
What do you mean?
Let's look at Messi moving to Inter Miami in the MLS, or Ochoa spending last season playing in Cyprus for AEL Limassol. The Goal.com feature highlights this trend beautifully.
Oh, right, the step-down leagues.
Yeah, these aren't just lucrative retirement tours. These players are actively seeking out what are essentially cryogenic chambers for their careers.
Cryogenic chambers. I love that analogy.
By stepping away from the relentless 50-game, high-pressing meat grinder of top-tier European leagues like the Premier League or La Liga, they lower their weekly physical load.
Makes sense.
They aren't burning out their nervous systems in November on a rainy night in Manchester. They are pacing their bodies over a 2-year cycle so that their mental processing power is intact for the heat of North America in June.
And the managers are fully buying into this. I mean, take Ochoa. Mexico's first-choice keeper, Angel Malagon, suffers an Achilles injury in March.
A huge blow.
A massive blow. The co-host nation is staring down a crisis. But manager Javier Aguirre doesn't call up an unproven 24-year-old prospect. He calls up the 40-year-old playing in Cyprus who hasn't even been a regular starter in months. Because like you said, when the stadium is shaking in Mexico City, you need the guy whose nervous system won't short-circuit.
And that strategy makes logical sense for a goalkeeper, right? Or for an individual player managing their own minutes. But the friction arises when an entire nation's tactical blueprint is bent out of shape to accommodate a veteran.
Which brings us to the ultimate paradox of this tournament, Portugal.
Yes.
If you look at their stats, they are tournament favorites, reigning UEFA Nations League champions. They locked up their World Cup spot on the final day of qualifiers.
Yeah, they're incredibly deep. Statistically, they boast one of the most talented, multifaceted squads on the planet.
And their schedule in Group K is pretty favorable. They've got a warm-up friendly against Chile, and then they face DR Congo in Houston on June 17th.
Then Uzbekistan, also in Houston on June 23rd.
And Colombia in Miami Gardens on June 27th. But their manager, Roberto Martinez, has built this entire supercomputer of a team around a 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo.
Who is currently playing his club football in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. Now, Ronaldo has never won a World Cup. In fact, our sources point out a pretty staggering detail. He has never scored a single goal in a World Cup knockout round.
It is the one glaring anomaly in a career defined by peerless goal scoring.
So here's where I have to push back on Martinez's strategy. Portugal is absolutely loaded with explosive youth. They have Bruno Fernandes, who one analyst in our sources flat out calls Portugal's most important player. They have Bernardo Silva.
Yep.
They have dynamic young forwards waiting on the bench like Rafael Leão and Gonçalo Ramos. If you have that much modern dynamic talent, isn't building your system around a static 41-year-old actively holding the team back?
It's a fair question.
It feels like insisting on navigating a ship with a rusty antique compass when you have a state-of-the-art GPS built into the dashboard.
I get that. And if you view the game solely through a tactical lens, your argument is bulletproof.
Thank you.
The mechanics of modern football dictate that defending starts from the front. If your central striker is 71 years old and cannot press the opposition's center backs, your entire team has to drop deeper.
Right.
You surrender possession, and you demand an unreasonable amount of running from players like Fernandes and Silva to plug the gaps. You are essentially playing a man down when you don't have the ball.
So why do it? If you are bleeding possession and neutralizing your best midfielders just to accommodate him, what is the upside?
The upside is the psychological gravity Ronaldo brings to the pitch. We discussed tournament muscle memory, but Ronaldo provides a totally different utility.
Which is?
He is the ultimate lightning rod. When the Portuguese national team steps off the bus, every single camera lens, every microphone, and every ounce of media scrutiny is directed squarely at him.
So he absorbs the circus.
He monopolizes the narrative. If Portugal wins, the headlines are about Ronaldo's glorious final run. If they lose, the articles are about Ronaldo's failure to deliver.
Okay, I see where you're going.
For a young, highly scrutinized player like Rafael Leão, that dynamic is incredibly liberating. They get to step onto the biggest stage in sports and just play freely, shielded from the immense, suffocating pressure of their nation's expectations.
Wow.
Martinez is calculating that the psychological shield Ronaldo provides for the next generation is worth the tactical tax of playing a static forward.
Okay, I see the vision. You install the lightning rod so the rest of the house doesn't burn down in a storm. But Martinez's gamble, however risky, feels deeply calculated. When we look at the rest of our sources, calculation seems to have gone entirely out the window.
Oh, completely.
Across the globe, managers aren't making strategic gambles, they are hitting the panic button.
The unforgiving nature of a 48-team single-elimination tournament breeds an incredibly specific type of managerial terror. The margin for error is basically non-existent.
Error is exactly the right word. Let's look at Julian Nagelsmann and the German national team.
A prime example.
They've had major goalkeeping issues. Marc-Andre ter Stegen has struggled with injuries, and Oliver Baumann hasn't really cemented the role.
Right.
So what does Nagelsmann do? He literally pulls 4-year-old Manuel Neuer out of international retirement to be his number one.
Well, Germany is a fascinating case study in trauma response. They have suffered 2 consecutive humiliating group stage exits at the World Cup.
Yeah, those were rough.
Nagelsmann is operating under the immense historical weight of those failures. He simply cannot afford to experiment with a goalkeeper who might falter when the lights are brightest.
So he chooses the devil he knows.
Exactly.
And it's not just Germany. Look at Carlo Ancelotti managing Brazil. The Brazilian national team is always a pressure cooker. But Ancelotti took a swing that feels almost reckless.
The Neymar situation.
Yes. He called up 34-year-old Neymar, who now plays for Santos. Neymar tore his ACL in late 2023. Ancelotti had basically ignored him for months. Then right before the tournament, due to a few forward injuries, Ancelotti throws Neymar a lifeline and puts him in the final 26-man squad.
A lifeline that snapped almost instantly.
That's the craziest part. Days after the call-up, Neymar gets injured again. It borders on tragicomedy.
It really does.
Add to that the off-pitch chaos we are seeing everywhere.
Oh, the distractions are everywhere.
Yeah, per our sources, Portugal's Rafael Leão is facing a serious assault investigation right now that could actually result in a ban.
Yeah.
Just impartially reporting what the sources say, but that's a massive distraction.
Right.
And meanwhile, England manager Thomas Tuchel watched Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke all drop out injured right before a warm-up friendly against Japan.
A nightmare scenario for a manager.
These managers are just duct taping their squads together. So what is the broader framework here? Why do world-class managers revert to broken veterans instead of trusting their academies?
We have to contrast the mechanics of international football with club football. A club manager gets his players on the training pitch every single day for 10 months out of the year.
Right.
He has the runway to build intricate, automated tactical systems. He can afford to ease a 19-year-old prospect into the lineup because there's a safety net of 38 league matches.
Yeah. But international football offers none of that.
You get the players for what, a few weeks a year? Barely? You do not have the time to drill a complex pressing trigger. You cannot build a cohesive defensive unit from scratch.
Wow.
You are entirely reliant on established partnerships and individual brilliance. So when an injury crisis hits Brazil, or a goalkeeping vacuum opens in Germany, an international manager's instinct is pure risk aversion.
Play it safe.
They aren't blind to the fact that Neuer is 40 or that Neymar's knee is compromised. They simply fear the unproven youth even more.
Because if it goes wrong with a kid, it's the manager's fault.
Exactly. They would rather lose with a legend who knows the system than take the blame for trusting a rookie who shrinks under the pressure.
It's the ultimate defensive managerial posture. You can't get fired for starting Manuel Neuer.
Joe.
But, you know, we've been focusing heavily on these massive powerhouses, Portugal, Germany, Brazil. They have the luxury of debating whether their legends help or hurt the system because the rest of the squad is packed with Champions League winners.
Right. They have depth.
The Goal.com piece highlights a completely different, much darker psychological dynamic for other teams.
The Atlas phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, let me rephrase that. It's like Atlas holding up the sky, but in this scenario, Atlas is pushing 35, he has shot knees, and he's playing his club football on a totally different continent.
It's a heavy burden.
We are talking about the veterans who are completely alone, players carrying the hopes of an entire nation on their backs without a superstar supporting cast to bail them out.
The physical toll of that isolation is brutal, but the emotional weight is what truly defines their legacy. When you are the singular world-class talent on a roster, your nation's entire footballing identity becomes fused with your own.
The sources single out Edin Dzeko for Bosnia and Herzegovina. The man is 40 years old, currently playing for Schalke.
Remarkable story.
Bosnia had basically fallen off the footballing map since 2014, but Dzeko miraculously inspired them through a UEFA playoff against Italy. He dragged an entire nation to North America through sheer force of will.
He really did.
But the two examples that really jump out from the deep dive are Mohamed Salah for Egypt and Son Heung-min for South Korea.
Two players who have literally defined Asian and African football for a decade.
Both are 33 or 34 years old now. Salah's form has visibly dropped off at Liverpool, and there are constant rumors of him finally making a Saudi move. And his only real high-level support for Egypt is Omar Marmoush. Meanwhile, Son has already made his move to LAFC in the States.
Right.
Both of these guys are the undisputed icons of incredibly football-obsessed countries. So what is the tactical reality on the pitch for a player in that situation?
The tactical reality is an absolute nightmare. When you are the only genuine threat on your team, every single opponent you face designs their entire game plan around neutralizing you.
Obviously.
The instruction from the opposing manager isn't to beat Egypt. The instruction is to stop Mohamed Salah. He is going to be aggressively double-teamed every time he touches the ball.
Yeah.
He will face cynical, tactical fouls. He's going to spend 90 minutes being physically battered by center backs who know the referee won't give a red card in the first half.
And despite being kicked for 90 minutes, the expectation from the millions of fans back in Cairo or Seoul is that he still has to produce a moment of magic to win the game.
That is the burden. They are asked to solve a tactical puzzle that is specifically designed to be unsolvable for one person.
We see shades of this fading hope across several squads, too. Look at Kevin De Bruyne. He's 34, coming off a heavily injury-hit debut season at Napoli.
Yeah, that's been tough for him.
Under manager Rudi Garcia, De Bruyne is basically the last flickering light of Belgium's golden generation. Or James Rodriguez, who owes his entire mythical status to his 2014 World Cup breakout.
Oh, Jim.
He's playing for Minnesota United now, treating the MLS regular season like a waiting room, just preserving his fragile body strictly for the Colombian national team.
And we also see with Virgil van Dijk for the Netherlands. He's lost a yard of pace, but he remains absolutely crucial for them.
Right.
And in Africa, you have Sadio Mane at El Nassr, looking to repeat his 2021 AFCON heroics alongside rising talents like Sarr and Ndiaye for Senegal, or Riyad Mahrez, who is 35 now at Al Ahly, getting his first World Cup appearance since 2014 for Algeria.
So what happens to the remaining 10 players on the pitch when they know their absolute savior is on his last legs?
It fosters a fascinating duality within the locker room. In the best-case scenario, it inspires a collective sacrifice.
Like what?
You will see industrious midfielders willingly doing grueling, unglamorous defensive running just to buy their veteran talisman 5 seconds of rest. They want to give their hero the send-off he deserves. They will run through brick walls to protect him.
Okay, and the worst case scenario?
Fatalistic dependency.
Oof.
Yeah, if the team goes a goal down or the tactical system isn't working, the younger players stop taking initiative. They look at the 34-year-old veteran and passively wait for him to conjure a miracle. If Salah gets shut down by a double team, or if Son pulls up clutching his hamstring, you can literally watch the belief drain out of the other 10 players in real time. The psychological foundation of the entire team collapses the moment their atlas stumbles.
It is deeply beautiful and incredibly tragic all at once. You are watching a player's legacy being cemented, not just by whether they lift a trophy, but by how much weight they can bear before they finally break.
Which is the true essence of what we're about to witness this summer. We are watching the final grains of sand fall through the hourglass for a generation that fundamentally redefined how this sport is played.
So when you sit down to watch this tournament, whether you're at a packed bar or you're tuning in from your living room or sitting in the sweltering stands in Houston or Miami, you are not just watching a football match.
No, you're not.
You are watching the definitive, unrepeatable end of a 20-year era. Every single time you tune in, it could be the final time you ever see a generational icon like Messi, Ronaldo, Modrić, or Neymar lace up their boots on the global stage.
The sheer volume of historic talent exiting the stage simultaneously is a phenomenon we have literally never witnessed before in the sport's history. It's a profound transition period.
And that leaves us with a really provocative angle to mull over, something our sources barely even touched upon. They were hyper-focused on these legends leaving the stage. But remember, this tournament is expanding to 48 teams.
Right, a huge expansion.
We're bringing in completely new nations, unorthodox styles of play, and athletes who have never been under this specific spotlight. Does this mass exodus of the old guard actually create a massive power vacuum at the top of the global game?
Elite sports, much like nature, abhor a vacuum. The infrastructure of the game demands a superstar to orbit around.
So once the Messis and the Ronaldos finally exit the stage in North America, taking their 2 decades of total dominance with them, could we see a complete unknown?
It's possible.
A player from one of those brand new, expanded 48 nations who suddenly steps into that void, harnesses that tournament muscle memory on their very first try, and just claims the throne.
It is the perfect recipe for an unprecedented upset. I mean, a new era has to begin somewhere, and a chaotic, sprawling North American tournament is the ideal incubator for it.
We started today by talking about a supercomputer forced to run on an antique processor. Well, this summer, those 20-year-old processors are going to run as hot as they possibly can, bearing the weight of their nations one last time before the system finally reboots.
It's going to be something to see.
It really is. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep your eyes on the pitch, and we'll catch you next time.